All right, lads, welcome back to another episode of the GCOR show. And this time, I'm joined with the defending world champion, CHIKONAZ. Can answer a few questions today. So, CHIKONAZ, glad to see you on the show.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for having me. I've wanted to be on the show for so long now. Finally, I'm so
Mm.
happy it's. Yeah. Thank you.
Glad to see you here, man. All right, so let's just start off then. Have a look back into your early career. So, what are the main highlights of your early career, mate?
I mean, I've been racing for a while now. I mean, technically, I've been racing since the age of 4 years old. Really, that's when I properly got into motor racing, from karting, sim racing, all the good stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
really, didn't really like progress that much until 2021, where I started actually doing Fortnite racing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Fortnite racing didn't really go as to plan, I guess you could say. I had a reputation of being a dirty driver actually, very early in my career.
Mm-hmm.
I used to battle beast mode a lot. I used to battle Hurricane a lot. But it wasn't really until I got into Formula B. You remember Formula B?
Yeah.
Until I got into Formula B, where I really found my own on the grid. I felt comfortable in Formula B. Obviously, I got my first ever like proper online league racing win there in the second
Mm-hmm.
Grand Prix. Remember Gennaro?
Yeah.
That was an emotional one. And then the season after that, I got the promotion to Formula Q, which is literally like the top echelon of Fortnite racing, or at least it was back then. And it was such a big achievement getting into Formula Q. And in Formula Q, I wasn't that successful. I never won a race, but I got I think it was 3 or 4 podiums, challenged for the race win on multiple occasions, and constructors wise, we were doing quite well. So yeah, that's really how I got into racing like that. And then obviously
Mm-hmm.
Gcor falling back then, it was called the F1 League, but
Yeah.
Gcor, and yeah, that's where it all
So,
started.
so you said there was a bit of a, how do I put it? There was a bit of a change in your way of driving, your approach to driving when you kind of entered Formula B and Formula Q. Do you
Hmm.
think you were able to? Well, actually, let me rephrase the question. So, do you think that affected your approach to, say, when GCOR came around? Do you think that affected your approach to racing in GCOR?
Yeah, I mean before Formula B, it was NASA's F1 League, um, and the reception I got there wasn't the best. I was getting a lot of hate from, I guess you could say, big names at the time, such as JC, Beast Mode. Who else was there back then? There's this guy called Pratty. I was getting
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of respect, I
yeah,
feel, back then.
yeah.
Obviously, it was my first time. I didn't really know what was going on. Now I look back at it, it wasn't really my fault. Vision lag. There was a lot of vision lag back then,
Yeah.
so it was hard. And obviously, there's a lot of communication, a lot more communication back then than in G Suwa. So I had
Mhm.
to get used to it. But after, when I eventually stepped into Formula B, it was like a reset, almost like I was like, this is this is an environment where I'm happy with, I'm comfortable with. Obviously, I started off a little bit cautious, but as the season went on, as the races progressed, I became more and more confident in my ability. And yeah, I guess now I'm in GSWA fighting for championships on a regular basis.
The Q and stuff, or more actually, I think I remember it from my perspective during Formula Q. That's when Gen One kind of started.
Yeah.
So, what kind of happened there? Were you like juggling Gen One and Formula Q? And if you were, what were you prioritizing at that time?
Yeah, do you remember during Formula Q, through some races I used to sing? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Sing gospels during some races, man.
Yeah.
GSWA was my main thing. So over the radio, you'd hear me praising God. Oh man,
Mm.
good time. But yeah, at the time, definitely, I think I started prioritizing GSWA a little bit more as it was back then, the F1 League, and it wasn't that big really. My only competitors were Jacob, Beast Mode, Official. who's now called King Isaac. Who else was that? Who raced there? You did preseason. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember that preseason race.
Would you like to say?
Me
Would you
and
like to say that
Beef there.
preseason?
Yeah, me and Beef had a bit of an incident there. I think it was. I think we were at Catalonia, Spain. Um, I think we were behind. We were behind you when it happened, and
Yeah.
I'll be honest, it was 100% my fault. I mean, if Beast Mode, if you're watching this, mate, I apologize. I still apologize. I think I apologized then, and I apologize now because it was a dirty move on my part. Basically, what happened is I made a mistake. I went off the road, and Beast Mode was behind me, so I
Mhm.
came back onto the track at a perfect time to hit him. So we both ends up um, retiring from the race. So yeah,
Well done.
brilliant stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, who else was there? Johnny. Do you remember Johnny? He was there.
Yeah.
And D Boss. How could I forget D Boss? D Boss was there as well. So it wasn't too big. Um, but yeah, that season I learned so much. Racing with Jacob, Beast Mode especially. I learned so much at the start of the season. I was very cautious. You know, if you look back at my old clips, Bahrain race one, season one, going into turn one, I got a better start than Beast Mode, but I braked so early. Beast Mode just went around the outside of me.
Mm.
But then as the races went on, my confidence grew, my self belief grew until to the point where I managed to make a quadruple overtake, I think, or a triple overtake at Abu
Mm.
Dhabi to take the race. So definitely that first season helped me grow a lot. And I remember I had like a 6 race winless drought or something. That was a tough time period for me because even though I came out of those races leading the championship, I hadn't won a single race. I'd been finishing second, third, even a DNF, even a couple of DNFs. And I learned a lot. And one of the biggest things I learned was
Uh-huh.
using it. I'd never used a setup until like midway through that season. And when I started using setup, well, things changed. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, I won the championship in Vietnam with a race to go. So in Brazil, I could just chill, I guess. But that was one of my greatest races actually, because at the time Jacob was like the headline name of Gcor. He was the big name. He was the
Yeah.
guy everyone wanted to beat. Even though I'd won the championship, Jacob was the guy everyone wanted to beat because he came in like halfway through.
Mm.
And that race, me and Jacob, we battled for the entirety of the Grand Prix. So obviously that was a massive bonus to my confidence and my self belief. And yeah, that was a good first season, I'd say.
So obviously, whilst there was during Gen 1, I should say, I believe that was when the league was split in two. There was the obviously because you were on F1 2020, so there was no cross-platform yet. So it was split between the Xbox side and the
And the
PlayStation
PS.
side. So obviously, I remember the Xbox side had guys like obviously Coward was there, Sid Kofa was there, Hurricane was there.
Nading. Nading, he was there. Uh, and some other guys. Nas.
Yeah. Naz was there. There was many other drivers there, and many
Yeah.
others. Name. But were you looking during that time at any of the Xbox drivers and thinking, you know, like looking nervously over your shoulder, like should there ever be like cross-platform? I have to watch out for some of these guys because they're fast.
At the time, I'll be honest. At the time, my ego was massive. I guess you could say my ego is still quite big to this day. But I did. I didn't really fear anyone.
Mhm.
I thought Jacob was the pinnacle. Yeah, Coward was saying that he was very quick and this and that. Nading, I guess you could say nading. I feared him a little bit, man, because this guy, he'd run away, he'd get pole in, he'd run away, and that was it. You wouldn't touch him for the entirety of free.
Yeah.
So there was Coward. I've always believed that, I can fight Coward, and back then I believed that as well. Even though we've always had that respect between one another, but I still think at the time I could have beaten him. That's what I believe, at least. Um, Nas, yeah, I reckon I would have beaten Nas at least at the time. Hurricane, same thing. Sokofa, same thing. So yeah, obviously it's hard to say because it's incredibly biased.
Mm.
But you know, Nading, he's definitely one that shouts out and potentially coward. Yeah.
Okay, then. So obviously, Gen 1 ended that season with you winning the title. And then you move into Gen 2. So it's the end of the Xbox side, basically, for a good while, about a year and a bit.
Yeah. So they continued racing on 21 F1 21. So
Yeah, but they kind of disappeared from the limelight in terms of
yeah.
the relevance. It's mainly Gen 2 with GT Sport taking the stage. So obviously then it was time for the new era. So new teams were created. Obviously, I made GN7 that time, and Beast Mode made Road Quadratic. But I remember something interesting when I was creating GN7, and I asked you, "Do you want to create a team?" And you said, "No, I'll stick with you." What made you think,
Mm.
"Oh, I'll stick with GN7"?
I don't know, bro. I guess it was always in my blood. It was just meant to be, you know.
Mm,
Um, my entire life, I've always loved Porsches since I was a little kid. I used to even watch, the Porsche Super Cup. I used to watch that.
yeah, yeah,
So I've always had an affection for the Porsche brand. I've always respected it. It's always been my top three favorite. I think right now I'd say it's my favorite brand.
yeah.
They always build beautiful cars, and whether it's a road car or race car, it's still fast and beautiful.
Mm,
So yeah, the affection with the love for Porsche was always there, and I thought if what's the point of trying to create rivals when you can create like good team partnerships? And I've always thought me and you were going to be a strong pairing, team pairing. We used
yeah.
to blend well. We used to gel. We used to have a lot of fun.
Mm,
In our free time, we'd chill. Remember, we'd play a bit of FIFA,
of
FIFA
course.
21.
Yeah.
So that was good, man. And I thought, I'll just join you because I love the Porsche brand and everything. I thought
Mm,
it was a match made in heaven. And I look at the records now. I look at the amount of races I've had with them. I look at the team members in the team. I'm like, that's probably the greatest decision of my career, bro. And thank you for allowing me to have that decision to make that decision to drive for GM7.
because looking back on it now, there was no better option, man. There was no better option than CHIKONAZ, I must say. But yeah, that Porsche was
Thank
bad fast, that Gen 2, man. We
you.
picked a good car. We picked a good car, man. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
we ended up winning
we
the
str-
title.
we struggled a little bit down the straight.
Mm,
Down the straights, we struggled a little bit, and halfway
yeah.
through the season. But after that, after things clicked, after we hit at Brands Hatch, that's obviously shout out to Coward as well. Shout out to Coward for being
Shout out.
the team engineer. But yeah, your question was?
Okay, so obviously we had that bad fast car. There was a bit of, there was a few heated moments in that season. I'll say it was a very, very entertaining season. If you're looking at it
Mm,
from, say, if you're watching it on TV, which I don't think anyone
mm.
was, but if you're watching on TV, it'd be probably a thrilling season. So obviously, from our point of view, it was very stressful. I remember every day I was waking up thinking, GCOR, I've got to win the next race. I had to get on top in the championship. What was going on in your mind every day? Like, were you thinking about GCOR constantly during that season, or were you like a bit more laid back?
Do you want the short answer or the long answer? Well, I can give both.
Let's say both. Let's say both.
Short answer, hell yeah. Every single day I was thinking GSOR, 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 GSOR. I remember once I went to the barbers. The barber was speaking to me. He was doing my hair. It was 90 kilo for fade. And I just shout GSOR for no reason. Bro, it's just everywhere. Everything was just literally GSOR, GSOR, GSOR. And I was like, I don't know if this is healthy. I don't know if this is healthy now. But definitely at the start of the season, because obviously there's all the hype. I was so gassed. I was like, finally, a proper championship where I can show everyone what I've got.
Yeah,
Do you remember there was that preseason race? The first preseason race, not the second one. The first one at Japan. Is it Yamagiwa? What was it called? Do
yeah,
you
that
remember that
one. Yeah,
one?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. When I went for the overtake on beast mode last lap, and then I realized the brakes failed. Do you remember?
yeah.
Yeah. So that happened, and I was like, something's not right. I know I hit the brakes and the car didn't stop. I was very sure about that. So then
Hmm.
we tests here and there, and yeah, we eventually found out. Well, it wasn't really a braking issue. It was a problem with the accelerator. The accelerator was just stuck open every time I brake. So when I'd hit the brake, the car would lock and continue traveling forward. So I was like, oh no, this is a big problem. Do you remember I had to miss the second preseason test because I had to travel back to the factory?
Yeah.
And then comes race one at Autopolis. Do you remember we didn't really have that much pace?
Yeah, it wasn't a good weekend. It wasn't a good weekend at all.
Nowhere I managed to bag pole with a broken accelerator, I guess you could say. Wow, so remember pole used to be an extra point back then.
Yeah, exactly.
But then the race, we were battling with Type Z and Chevelle. Beast mode ran away, and it was just so stressful, man. Definitely, I think the first half of the season when we had that braking issue, that was super stressful. Every race was literally like, it's not can I win it, because I as I said, I've got a massive ego. I believe I'm the best driver on the grid. I believe I can win every race.
Yeah.
But I think every driver, to be fair, believes they're the best driver on the grid, because as soon as you stop believing you're the best driver on the grid, you're no longer a racing driver. You get me?
Yeah.
But yeah, at the time I thought I was, the best driver on the grid. I can win any race, but with this, broken accelerator, it's damage limitation. Every race was literally damage limitation. So definitely very stressful time. As the season kind of went on, towards the end of the season, my focus was literally race by race, take it race by race, session by session, corner by corner. We turn up to the race weekend, we get pole. After we get pole, we lead out of turn one and we run away from beast mode and everyone else. That was my thinking. And yeah, I guess it worked. I won the championship after being, 42 points back, the biggest championship in Gcor history, having done 2 races less. So yeah, I guess it worked.
Well, I must say that season was very exciting, man. I mean, I can't lie. For me, I was thinking, I can win this championship as well. Like coming up to it, because I was in a good position. Obviously, certain things happened. We won't talk about it here. But,
What, do you want to talk about Sardinia as well?
Yeah, Sardinia was one of those moments, most definitely. That was, I can't lie, that season, once we passed a couple of races, not a couple of races, once we passed like the midpoint of the season, I knew, like, I'll be honest here, I started getting desperate, because I'm like, as much as I want GN7 to win the constructors, I need to keep myself in the drivers' championship hunt, because I like all the racing I'm doing, because that was back in the day when, because we were still combining GCOR with Formula Q. Formula Q was still going these times, so we were combining it. So I was still racing in Formula Q and racing in GCOR, but in these times I started to prioritize GCOR as well. So my weekends was geared up towards GCR. Was the highlight of my weekend. Like, I think pretty sure with you as well, Chick. We used to wake up and the priority was GCR. Like, I would get on, I would make sure I have my strategy ready, I'll practice a little bit, and then I'd be ready for GCR. So my aim was like, I just come on and win. So obviously I started getting a bit aggressive. Sardinia was an example. I got a bit too aggressive.
What about Spa?
Spa was entirely my fault. That was just, I wasn't using my head then. Now you guys can see, if you guys look at my channel, you'll see what happened at Spa. That was, and Sardinia as well. You'll see that as well. It was both times it was my fault.
No, you're joking me. For flip's sake. I actually want to punch a wall, man. I actually want to punch a flipping wall. How has that happened? It didn't happen at all. How's that? This is stupid driving, mate. Why is he driving like this? This is stupid. He's forcing me wide. Oh my days. Please stop doing this, man. I'm gonna have to send it here, mate. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry, man. I had to do that, mate. Beast mode was gonna do something stupid himself. I'm so sorry. No, chick, mate. I'm so sorry, man. One of us has to do this, mate. One of us has to do this. Come on, man. What happened there? Hunter involved in last lap drama again. Sorry, chick. Sorry. My fault. Sorry. Oh my days! I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Chick, I am really sorry, mate. I did not mean to do that. I have on my radar. Chick, I swear, I'm really sorry, man. I thought I was clear on my. Chick.
Spa was entirely my fault. Sardinia was entirely my fault. I was just getting aggressive. Spa was just driver error. But yeah, I just ended up getting eliminated from the drivers' championship hunt close, like towards the end of the season. But then after that, it was almost like the pressure was off my shoulders almost, because I knew I'm not winning the championship, so I might as well just do everything I can to make sure Chick wins the championship. And I remember that's what Skip Pratt was feeling as well. Skip Pratt ended up getting in the as well. So it was a three-man team essentially.
Yeah, because you remember he was our academy driver back then, and still is.
Yeah.
Good times, man. Good times.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant. I mean, fighting those BMWs at times was stressful. Do you remember at Bathurst when they were weaving?
Yeah, man.
Oh, that was so frustrating. And then they tried backing themselves as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
After
what a stress.
After that race, we got coward.
Yeah.
Because we need that backing with us. But yeah, so that was your second straight title then. So you're slowly building up your name, like, you know, one title in Gen 1, next title in Gen 2. Now we're going to Gen 2 Season 2. It's a bit more, I'll be honest, Gen 2 Season 2 was a bit more of a casual season, I'll be honest. Because I remember you said that you were going into retirement at the end of Gen 2 Season 1. So we were thinking, there was, I think, who was there? Me, Beast Mode was still there, Type Z was still there, Chival, Skip Pratt. We were just thinking, like, it's wide open now for the title. Because I remember Beast Mode wasn't really the same. Beast Mode wasn't the same. And then, so the rest of us was thinking, you know, it's all in for us now. But then, obviously, you came back. So, yeah. So, what was your focus going into Gen 2 Season 2, like, when you came back? Because I know you came back a bit later in the season.
I mean, basically, obviously, remember that off-season break was so long. Do you remember? It was like 2 months long. I miss those long breaks. In those long breaks, I used to go America, bro. I used to chill, go Hollywood, go Asia. I used to go everywhere, bro.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, anyways, obviously I missed, was it the first 2 races? The first 3 races, I think. It was Autopolis, Suzuka, and Tokyo Express. I missed those races. I wish I raced at Tokyo Express. That track looked so cool. But I missed those 3 races, and I was like 30-something points down in championship. I was like, you know what? Is the championship still there? But first, I need to find myself a team. Because I can't just come in and kick Skip right out. That's harsh.
Yeah.
And you know, I was speaking to a few teams. Ferrari, they weren't in Gcor back then, but I had some talks with them. I did, you know, have some talks with them, negotiated some stuff, but obviously the deal broke down, and I ended up driving for Jacob's team actually, which was Alfa Romeo. Drove there for a season. It was like a loan spell. And yeah, I mean, going into the season, I was just like, we'll see what happens. Obviously, there was a slight rule change. Remember, we went to a BOP where performance was literally equal for everyone. So I was like, yeah, we'll see what we can do. Each car has their different characteristics, but we'll see what we can do. And then my first race back was Bathurst, wasn't it? I think it was Bathurst.
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't get pole. I think you got pole there, actually. If I remember well. If memory serves. But then the race, I just managed to turn up and managed to get the weekend sweep. So that was great going into the season.
I'll be honest, Gen 2 Season 2 was, I'll be honest, it wasn't as good as the first season, but it was a lot more laid back. Like, there wasn't really the obligation to get up and start immediately, like, you're thinking GCOR, GCOR. It was a lot more of a laid back season. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It was more.
so obviously, you end up winning that title against the odds again. Third straight title, man. Like, you're proper, like, now you're proper climbing the ranks in terms of the best to do it. So yeah, how did you react upon winning that title?
I'll be honest. It didn't feel as good as the other ones. Definitely the best feeling championship still has to be that Gen 2 Season 1 championship. You know, beating Beast Mode. After everything that, you know, was said in the press, what Beast Mode said to me, what I said to him, what other guy, because remember, Beast Mode used to have clout. This guy used to have a whole fan base which used to attack us. Do you remember?
Yeah.
So definitely that season felt much, much better because of everything, you know, against the odds. But definitely, you know, winning a championship in any ways is a special feeling, and I was loving it. You know, I was happy. It was actually quite an emotional one because obviously that was going to be the last race ever in the Gen 2 era.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, doing the donuts at the end with you, that was nice. Finishing the season off with, you know, with a win, going back to GN7 Mercedes, saying goodbye to Alfa Romeo, even though I'd been with Alfa Romeo for such a short time, you know, I'd managed to build so many connections and relationships with the people there. So, you know, saying goodbye is never easy, but yeah, that was a tough one.
Of course.
But yeah, best feeling. Not the best feeling out of all my championships, but yeah, definitely I'm grateful for it. What a season. I look back, I'm like, wow, what a season. And yeah, move on.
So then, again, it's the end of another generation. So we now move on to Gen 3. So Gen 3, right, from my experience, Gen 2 that was my generation. I mean, I didn't win any championships or anything. I was a driver. I did as a team. 1-2 constructors. But Gen 3 now, I took a back step because this is the time when I was saying, like, this is the time when I started backing out. Like, I announced my retirement. I remember this now. I was announcing my retirement. And I had the intention to come back, but obviously, it was a completely different ball game now. Like, the competition had completely ramped up. Like, there were guys from Gen 1 who would come back. Because obviously now, I believe Gen 3, this was when it became cross-platform again now. So the Xbox and the PlayStation all merged. And then, so you have a stacked roster of drivers, you know, like all old friends returning. It was really fantastic to see. Like, the league blew up after and the announcement of Gen 3. So obviously, with me out of the picture, it was you back in GN7 Mercedes. So, you know, at the beginning of the season, how were you feeling towards, like, being back in GN7 Mercedes? Do you feel like you were able to challenge for the title? Or do you feel like, oh, you know, I may not be in this title picture as much as I would like to have been? Because obviously you have a lot of stacked competition against you.
I mean, going into that Gen 3 season, it was mentally, I'll be honest, it was quite tough actually. I remember speaking to Coward about it. Coward was like, yeah, these guys, they're quick. It's not looking good for you, chick, I'll be real. And I was like, oh man. Maybe this is the end of the road for me. Maybe this is gonna have to be my last season. And then we turned up to preseason. Preseason was alright, you know, showed decent pace, but obviously preseason's preseason. You know, you got guys sandbagging. Not everyone turns up, you know, with their full race package, this, that, yada yada yada. So really, you only get to see like the full picture comes race one. And in qualifying, definitely this is where, you know, I felt a shift in power, if that makes sense. Because in quali, I think I qualified P5. In the Gen 2 era, I never qualified lower than P5. I qualified P5 once. And that was at Laguna Seca. No, not even. That was P4. I qualified P4 that day. So I'd never qualified lower than P4. And on my first outing, I was starting P5. So definitely that was that was a very rude wake up to reality. Race pace wise, I actually didn't have a setup that race. I didn't have a setup. I'd gone back to my old ways. Almost won the race actually until a certain Dino Bambino, that name's quite familiar now, hit me off at turn one. It was a little bit controversial. At the time, I was upset that I'd lost the race actually. I wasn't really angry. I was like, it's fine, it's a racing incident. We move on. But definitely, that was like, I was like, that's my one and only chance to win this season, and I've blown it. So I think mentally, I wasn't. I remember getting frustrated the next race at Australia, because obviously when you're coming out of an era of dominance and then you start finishing fifth in qualifying, and in the race you're not winning, and the next race at Australia I finished fourth in both the sprint race and feature race. I was not a happy boy. I was not a happy bunny. So I was quite angry, and really it was just trying to switch my mentality from, and beginning to understand that this is not all about me, Yeah, I've had my time of I've had my fun, but now this is when the young guns are starting to show up. This is when the better drivers are starting to show up. And if I wanna keep up, I've gotta reduce my ego. I've gotta calm down. I've gotta look at myself in the mirror, be like, Chikonas, yes, you've achieved so much so far in your career, but if you don't achieve any more, people are just gonna think it's a fluke. People are gonna be thinking that you're racing against, toddlers. How do you get so much records if you can't even win a race in Gcor in this current era? So there was a lot of pressure on that half. But as the season progressed, the championship, finishing second, third here and there, the occasional race win, the championship picture definitely looked much brighter, to the point where actually, we were fighting for the championship.
But then obviously, at the end of that championship, you end up losing to Dino Bambino. I think was it a narrow victory in the end? I can't quite remember. I think it was quite a narrow victory.
It was whoever wins at Brazil wins the championship. That was it.
So I'm assuming he just about pipped you there, yeah. So what? How did that affect you then? Because obviously you were on for 4 straight drivers' championships, and obviously you had fallen short. So how did that affect you?
Honestly, I'd never felt this kind of pain in my career. I'd only felt the feeling of jubilation come the end of the season. The only time I'd be angry is if I didn't win. That was literally it. So feeling this type of pain was hard. It was weird. I didn't know what to call it. I was asking my family members and other people. I was like, "Is this how depression feels like?" Because I was not happy. But I also understood that the best driver that season won the championship. Dino deserved that championship. I'll be honest, we had opportunities to win it, and at the end of the day, if we don't make contact at Suzuka, if I win at Suzuka, I win the championship. So that was definitely at the back of my mind. And also during that race, we had the opportunity to win that race as well, but we had some radio issues between me and Ollie Freeman. I boxed at the wrong time, and then it started to rain later on in the race, giving Dino Bambino a free pit stop. So, yeah, really, honestly speaking, I look back at it, I don't really have regrets. Dino deserved that championship. He won that championship fair and square. He did less races as well. I think he did 1 or 2 less races. So definitely he deserved that championship. And all I could do now was look towards the future. Look on.
So, obviously, I mean, if I was in that situation, I'll be honest. You said that you were proper sad, depressed and everything. I would have been the same. But clearly, I mean, I don't know actually. But in your case, was there ever the motivation I have to bounce back and make sure I'm back better than I was in season 1?
Yeah, man, without a doubt. I look at some of these great athletes. One of which, special shout out to Lewis Hamilton, the GOAT. He's been my inspiration, man, since literally I was born. So seeing him, what he's managed to go through. I don't like bringing this up, but Abu Dhabi 2021, seeing what he had to go through, and obviously how that championship was determined, and then seeing him bounce back in 2022, even with as bad, that car was bad. It really motivated me. I was like, if Lewis can do that, if Lewis can bounce back from 2021, if he can bounce back from 2016, if he can bounce back from 2007, times where he's narrowly lost the championship, I can bounce back from this. And, Dino deserved this. It wasn't like I was robbed or anything. Dino fully deserved this. So I was like, I've got to bounce back. And also, in the paddock, I was seeing drivers, I was seeing, the press, the interview people, I was seeing them all doubt me, I remember Ozo's, it was after Silverstone, actually. It was basically like, that guy Chick, he's not a good driver at all. The only reason he wins is because of luck. He's not a good driver at all. Obviously, I had my people to defend. I had my people to defend me, and they started talking about the stats, this, that, what, yada, yada, yada. But I'll be honest, I don't blame Ozos for saying that. I look back at the time. I'd done 10 races in Gen 3, and I'd only won 2, and both of which were, a little bit lucky. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So I guess he had the point there, but my main focus was literally bounce back, come back stronger next year, change the mentality, come back fresh. Everyone starts on 0 points, and win the championship.
And so we head into the second season of Gen 3. And so this is when I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to just leave Chick and Ollie to do it. Because obviously I remember the end of season 1, we made plans to make Ollie the permanent holder of that second seat. So yeah, he took that second seat. And I remember you guys were flying, man. So I just said, I'll leave you both to it. I won't try and step back in. And obviously you would clearly bounce back. I can see, like, you were proper focused. GCR was on your mind again. Like, you're waking up GCR again. You know what I mean? You were proper, like, ready to take down Dino Bambino. And I remember, like, every race it was about getting the win. In the chat, in the GN7 chat, it was always about, like, strategy. You and Ollie discussing things. And obviously the end of that championship, by the smallest of margins, you managed to take Dino Bambino and win the championship for number 4. That's crazy. How did you do it? Because I remember in the penultimate race, after the penultimate race, you thought you were out of it. And then I looked at the stats and, like, you're not out of it just yet. But you were proper, like, angry, like you'd blown your chance.
Yeah.
So then what was your thought process going into, like, the last race? Like, do you think you thinking you had blown it? Did you think there was still a chance for you in that last race?
I mean, at the end of the day, like, it was tough. That whole season was mentally draining. I'd known that, as I said before, I think I'm the best driver on the grid. Obviously, everyone thinks they're the best driver on the grid, right? And you've got to have that self-belief. You've got to have that self-belief in yourself. So, going into the last Grand Prix, I was like, okay, I've done this. I've been in this situation before where, obviously previously with Beast Mode, where if I can win this race, I can win the championship. But also, I needed a bit of luck. I needed God to bless me a little bit. Dino had to finish P4 on track. And I knew that if I didn't win this championship, I may never win a championship again. Because that season, do you remember I got disqualified at Kota?
Yeah.
I got disqualified for narrowly passing the safety car, At France, I took out Hurricane on the final lap. Instead of finishing P3, I ended up getting a penalty and finishing P6. So those moments in the season, I was like, maybe, what if this, what if that? But I was like, you know what, let's get into this race weekend. And obviously I was angry from the weekend before because Sid Kofa had just taken me out. Obviously he was then given a race ban. But my mentality was just go into that race weekend, give it my all, win. I like to say, my saying is, try your best and God will do the rest, I tried my best. I ended up winning that race. It was a tricky race, don't get me wrong. I spun, I think it was lap 3. I thought the championship was gone again at that point, but I just kept on pushing. And then I was leading, actually, because I boxed so early under the safety car, I was leading. All I had to do was keep the guys behind me. And obviously, me and Dino, we had that little battle. Me and Dino, we touched. Dino went spinning. So obviously his fan base and his people weren't happy about that. But ultimately, what won championship was my brilliant teammate Ollie Freeman, my brilliant team GN7 Mercedes. I have to say a big thank you to Matt for getting hit off by Dino Bambino, and obviously all glory goes to God. Obviously, helped me win that championship. So obviously, big thanks to everyone, my family as well. That championship, it means a lot. At the time, I didn't want to celebrate it as much because I knew, Dino again, another season where you could argue he was the guy who deserved it more than me, Obviously, winning the championship in controversial fashion.
It's quite controversial.
Exactly. Dino actually finished first on track, let's not forget. But that penalty sent him down to fourth. 3-second penalty sent him down to fourth, giving me the championship. So obviously I was happy, but I didn't want to celebrate too much. I remember how I felt seeing Max celebrate in front of Lewis like that after having that championship, given to him. Well, yeah, literally given to him because of rules changing. And obviously it's not to that extent, but I knew that Dino deserved that more, that race more. Maybe the championship, you could argue I deserved it more. You could argue he deserved it more. But that race in particular, I think Dino deserved it more. I got lucky. So I didn't really want to celebrate it that much. But obviously when I got home, the champagne was popping, fam. You already know the champagne was popping. But yeah, definitely that one has to be right at the top, I think. Or somewhere amongst, what a championship.
So then obviously move on to this season 3 of Gen 3. And it seems like every season of GCR competition, you're at the top, but then you have some kind of rival who's either above you or like right next to you. So like obviously this season it's Hurricane. Last 2 seasons it was Dino Bambino. Gen 2 season 2, I mean, no one really. I mean, you would say I finished second, so I guess you could say me. Season 1 it was Beast Mode. Gen 1 it was Beast Mode and others as well, Jacob and everything. So once again, you find yourself in a position where there's someone else to beat. So do you think is the plan for season 3 still the same as it's been for other seasons, or are you changing your approach? Because obviously it's a different driver this time. It's Hurricane, greatly improved since he joined Gcor. He's been rising up the ranks, and now he feels like he could, challenge for the title this season, mounting a proper title challenge. Do you feel like the approach changes, or is it stay the same?
First and foremost, kudos to Hurricane, man. I say this all the time. Hurricane, honestly, most improved driver by a country mile. This brother, he was. I remember, in his early days of GCR, he was spinning like he was literally a fidget spinner. I've called him a Beyblade, a living Beyblade. Bro, this brother was spinning for days. I thought it was Anthony. He was just going round and round and round and round. But then I done him dirty, to be fair. But yeah, the way he's improved is crazy, man. Like, he's gone from doing that last season. Obviously, he got his maiden race win at Coda. I've seen some drivers try to say he didn't really deserve that. In my opinion, he fully did. I know I got disqualified and all. Dino, his strategy got messed up with the safety car, but he fully deserved that. And I think since then, he's been definitely top 3 best drivers on the grid. This season, up to this point, he's been the best driver on the grid. So fighting is going to be interesting. We've already had some good battles. We battled for the lead at Singapore before Cyrax ate us both and got his maiden race win. Congratulations to him on that. We battled at Kota. Obviously, I overtook him on the last lap, but then I ended up getting a 3-second penalty, which is always frustrating, giving him the race win. And then we had another battle at Kota most recently, last week. So that was a brilliant battle. Obviously, coming out on top this time. We also battled as well last season at Monza. I remember we battled for the lead there. So me and Hurricane, we know the battle. And actually, our rivalry goes for way back, man. Way, way back to the Formula B days. Do you remember at Monza when me and him crashed? Second restart. When we crashed at Monza. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I was not happy. But hey-ho, he went to apologize. So we've been battling now for about 2 years, me and Hurricane. So obviously we respect each other. We know how one another races. We know not only are we some of the cleanest drivers on the grid, but we know we rate each other highly. And I think that's at the end of the day, it all goes back to respect. I respect him, he respects me, and to answer your question about whether I race him differently, nah, I'll race him the same. If I need to race him differently, it might happen, but as we speak, it's all good, man. It's all good. I mean, how would I have to race him differently? Would I be more aggressive? Would I be this? Would I be that? I'm not sure. Up to as we speak right now. Right now, I'm just to be fair, I'm surprised I'm in this championship fight. If you've been hearing the interviews, I've literally been like, we're not in this championship fight. We'll be lucky to get podium. Obviously, won last weekend, which is a miracle. But even though it looks like the car's improving a little bit, I still think the Ferraris and the Alpines are a little bit quicker than us. So, yeah, I guess we'll see about the championship. Next question.
Well, you're speaking about rivalries just a moment ago with Hurricane. You've had many a rivalry in GCOR. I mean, we're just talking about what Dyna Bambino, Hurricane just said, Coward, obviously Beast Mode from way back. So, out of all of those rivalries, who do you think has pushed you the furthest and molded you into the best possible driver?
That's a tough one, man. That's a tricky question. The easy answer would be all of them, because they've all contributed to my career. Like, battling with Beast Mode at the early stage of my career was a brilliant battle. It was literally Max v Lewis, man. We we still haven't spoken to each other since the finale, to be fair. Still waiting for that congratulations. Yeah, that rivalry was my first proper rivalry, man. And I remember telling my parents, I was like, there's this guy, Beast Mode Sam. They're like, Beast Mode, yeah, we saw him, this, that. Bro, the whole family knows about him, bro. The whole fan base know about this. And really, I think that rivalry helped me like mentally, because I remember at some stages, remember that Gen 2 season when BMW were dominating, when Beast Mode was running up stuff, when he was giving Type Z 3 wins. Do you remember?
Yeah, when he was having fun, man. Yeah.
He was having fun. See, I'm sure he regrets it now, because obviously he didn't win the championship that season, but man, that hurt. I was like, wow, that comfortable. I remember after Sardinia, right? It was the feature race, the one I finished second. Beast Mode was telling me, secrets on how to save tires. I was like, bro, these are your deepest secrets about how to save tires. This is what's making you win races. Why are you telling me? That's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, why? Does this guy not see me as a threat? But that was tough. And obviously, it taught me how to speak. It taught me how to speak to the press. Like, it showed me I had to watch my words, what I said, because every little words, literally, it could be taken out of context and create a bigger story, man.
Yeah.
That rivalry was special. The one with Coward, we've never really gone toe to toe all the way to the end of the season in a championship fight. But we definitely, for parts of seasons and times in races, we've had championship. We've had good fights. Championship worthy fights. With Coward, what I learned, I feel like mentally, I learned a lot from Coward also. Because Coward is greatly experienced when it comes to Gcor, when it comes to racing in general. He's one of the greatest racers to have ever graced the surface of Gcor. So racing against him was really weird, man. Like, I'd go into the race, I'd be like, I've got no chance against him. And then me and him, actually, we were speaking about this recently. Going into the race, I was like, I've got no chance. But then once the race comes, all of a sudden, I find myself 1 second behind him, overtaking him. I find myself ahead of him. Times like these. Definitely, it went a little bit over the top. I remember China, when I was literally defending for my life. What happened after the race, I guess that was unnecessary. He came back, obviously he apologized. What you don't know, Coward, he's one of our best mates, and he was obviously team engineer when we won the championship. So whatever happens in life, whether me and Coward never speak to each other again, whether me and Coward speak to each other for the rest, for the rest of our lives every single day, whatever happens, I always have that respect for him, man. What he's done for Gcor, bringing so many drivers in, it's been phenomenal. Helping Gcor and all, he's done an amazing job. So that rivalry was special in that sense. And obviously, most recently, the rivalry with Dino Bambino. This rivalry, actually, I guess you could say is the least intense because, like, all right, on track is very intense, but off track, me and Dino, we speak to each other. We're good mates, actually. Yeah, we literally talk about life, and I think me and Dino were quite similar, because obviously where we are in our career, we're some of the greatest drivers to have ever graced the surface of Gcor. Me and Dino Bambino. This gen, obviously, we share. I think it's like 85% of wins, 80% of wins, something like that between us two in Gen 3. Me and Dino, we like the same things, we both follow football quite closely, both love the sport. And we have other things on our mind, like back in my younger days, back when I first started Gcor. As you said, my life was literally wake up, Gcor, eat food, Gcor, getting a trim, Gcor. Everything was literally Gcor. But now, I've grown up a little bit. I wouldn't say I'm considering retirement, but I can say I am considering what life would be without Gcor, whether I'm going to be a mechanic one day, a commentator, you understand?
Yeah.
Me and Dino, we're quite similar in like where we are in our career, and we relate quite closely. And Dino, you don't understand, this guy is so respectful, man. He's one of the most respectful people I know. He's such a cool guy. Obviously, last season, when he lost that championship, as I said, it was in very controversial fashion. But he came up to me. He was actually the one who came up to me. He was like, Chick, even though I won the race, I think I won't win the championship because I might get a penalty. I was like, for what? And then he showed me. He was like, hitting that and this, that. Like, oh, that's unfortunate, bro. And then, like, he's just a cool guy, man. He's just a really cool guy. And if Gcor were to lose him, I think that would hurt Gcor, definitely.
So then, here's a big question then. I think everyone wants to hear about this. Obviously, you're probably one of the most loyal drivers on the grid. And you've been with GN7 for how long now? The whole of Gen 3 and a season of Gen 2, obviously, as well. So this is coming on to the 4th season. So everyone wants to know, I guess, how long do you plan to stay with GN7, I guess?
Mate, this is a family. GN7 is my home, man. It's my family. There's been a few lucrative offers here and there in the past, Ferrari last season, obviously they struggled, but they were looking lucrative, man. There was a nice deal coming in there. McLaren, they've tried their luck a few times. Aston Martin, obviously Aston Martin, they used to be Racing Point, isn't it? So going back there to almost like my roots, that was once an option. But honestly, GN7, man, it's my home. I don't see myself leaving GN7 for a while. I might retire here. The only way I'll leave GN7 is if I want to build my own like establishment or something, and I go to another team, a team further down at the bottom. I build them from the bottom all the way to the top with no help, because obviously at GN7 we had a little bit of help, because remember Porsche, they used to fund us. They gave us a little bit of money. Obviously Mercedes, they're doing that now. So I guess just if I were to leave, it'd be to a much slower team, to a team much lower down on the grid, trying to build them, trying to make them great, and then retiring within 2 seasons after that. But honestly, GN7, man, thank you so much for like allowing me into the GN7 family, bro. Because I tell you what, without GN7, I would not be as successful, man. Like the whole environment. Thank you to all my teammates, to you, obviously my first teammate, to what's his name, Joseph Teep. Let's not forget him. I know he was there for like 6 races, but let's not forget him. to Skip Pratt being a brilliant reserve driver, to Dakota, another brilliant reserve driver, Stolas, and obviously Ollie Freeman. Big thanks to him helping me win that championship, and obviously Midget Matt next season as well. Sure, there'll be a lot of fun. Ollie's done a brilliant job for this team. He's definitely going to be missed. I'm still going to hang out with Ollie Freeman, so definitely grateful that I can do that. But yeah, next season's going to be Midget Matt. But yeah, I'm planning to stay.
Okay, so the last question. Obviously, all the championships and the wins and everything. What, four championships now? I don't know. Countless wins, countless poles, fastest laps, weekend sweeps. What was the other one? Flyer award or whatever it was. I don't think anyone won that, but weekend sweep, yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you think all those records, all those stats to your name, do you think you have earned the title of being the GOAT of GCOR? Or do you think there's someone else that is worthy of that title? Or do you think someone else will eventually claim that title somewhere down the line?
That's a good question, man. GCOR GOAT. Definitely, I see my fan base, Team Chick45, brilliant fan base. I see them saying I'm the GOAT. It's very humbling. I see some drivers on the grid saying I'm the GOAT, this, that. It's very, very humbling. I'm like, thank you so much. So grateful. But, it's hard to say really, because when I was, dominating, I guess you could say, I was, it was in Gen 2. And some drivers, I don't want to put Gen 2 down or anything. Like, Gen 2 was brilliant. But the quality of racing, the quality of competition has gone up. Would you agree?
Of course.
Yeah. So the quality of racing has gone up from since the Gen 2 era, and I think we've all noticed that. So for me, really, the most important thing is just to in Gen 3 win poles, just be as dominant as I was in Gen 2 to show everyone it wasn't a fluke, to show everyone that Gen 2 is not as easy as people think. Yes, it may be a little bit easier than Gen 3, but it's not a walk in the park by any means.
Of course.
And really, me and G-Star right now, it's as nice as it is, some people calling me the GOAT. At the end of the day, people only remember your last race. If I end up, struggling, start getting beaten by the young guns, my reputation starts going down. Just like that, people will be like, was he really that good? Was something shifty going on in the background? So really, I just got to stay at the top of my game, keep on pushing. Can I be called the GOAT? It's up to you. It's up to you to decide.
Well then, okay, I'll ask you another question then. Say you never joined GCOR.
Say I
Who
never
do you
joined.
think you should go then?
Ooh, you're feeling excited today, aren't you? You're feeling spicy. You're feeling like a chicken wing today, aren't you? Say I never joined it. That's hard. I mean, Beast Mode would at least be a 2-time world champion, so he'd definitely be in the conversation. Beast Mode would be in the conversation. Coward, he's always going to be in the conversation. Dino, he'd be a 2-time champ as well in harder conditions. Nading, obviously you can't forget about Nading, but obviously I never raced against him. So I'd probably say, with all due respect, I'd probably say Dino. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just look at him. Look at the records already. Like, this guy has only participated in one generation and he's already, I think he's like second or third most race wins in GSWA, something like that.
Yeah, he's been brilliant, man.
Mm.
Yeah, then. So that ends the GCOR show. Chick, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, mate. Honestly, I wanted to be in the show for so long. Finally, I'm there.
Yeah, man, it's been great. It's been a great show, man. But yeah, all great things must come to an end. We've reached the end of this one. So, thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed. like the video, share it. Goodbye.
All right.